Between commissions, content, packing orders, creativity, amongst a million things on your to-do list, you eventually will hit a wall. Today, we're going to be talking about bouncing back from being burnt out. Burnout hits in so many different ways, from creativity being your sole contributor to your bills, to being a full-time employee trying to make art your side hustle. For me, it's the latter. I remember taking so many breaks throughout this year because I was just so exhausted. But then again, I had so many bursts of energies to be creative, but that wasn't sustainable. And the reality is you're not tired. You're just overwhelmed with the amount of tasks that you have to complete. You're overwhelmed with the amount of hats that you have to wear and the tasks that are at hand for each of these hats. You're the artist, you're the marketer, you're the customer service, amongst many different hats that you have to wear. And somewhere in between all of that, you have to stay inspired. And believe me, I've been there. I've spent months creating content, packing orders, doing everything except drawing on my sketch pad or my iPad. Creativity at that point felt like an extra chore. And that's when I knew I needed a change. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Indy. I'm known as Doodles by Indy on Instagram and TikTok. So here are 5 steps to be creative again after a burnout session. Step 1, you have to give yourself permission to take a breath, relax, take a pause, and give yourself a break. And yes, even when you're running a small business, you need that break every once in a while. Think about it as if it's like your full-time job. Like, every employee gets a allotted amount of PTO time. So even if you're working for yourself, you deserve that PTO as well. The only difference is you have to force yourself to give yourself that time, because there's no manager that's going to be like, hey, you should use your PTO before the end of the year. And it's simple to take off as a small business owner, especially as someone who works for themselves. All you gotta do is communicate with your audience, set boundaries, let them know that you're recharging, but you're not gonna be disappearing. Rest doesn't mean that you're a failure. It means that you know your limits. In fact, sometimes it's a good thing to be taking a rest, because you're allowing yourself to reset and be re-inspired. Because if you're doing the same thing over and over again, like packing orders, checking your email, dealing with all of these admin things that in reality is taking up a lot of your time that you could be focusing on creating art. Trust me, I know it's a hard process to step back because of the algorithm that punishes you for stopping for even a second, but I've put my shop on vacation before. I've taken a month off of social media, and you know what happened? Nothing crazy. I didn't lose followers. In fact, when I came back, I got a lot more engagement. People were excited for me to come back. I didn't lose anything, to be honest. If anything, I gained a little bit of peace. And then step 2, go back to your roots and figure out why you enjoy creating art in the first place. What lit you up about creating art, and what inspired you? Like I said before, it's so easy to create art just for the sake of an audience, or for the sake of remaining relevant and being consistent to a schedule that only exists to you. And while being consistent and disciplined is a good thing, it can also be super exhausting. It's exhausting to force yourself to be creative all the time. And at some point, you just lose that creative juice. And shameless plug, but I have a creative juice sticker. Sorry, that was really random. But anyways, as an artist, I feel like the best way to gain back your creativity is to leave everything behind and try things new again. And that means new art mediums. That could be something that you're not familiar with working with, or something that you haven't done in a long time. The goal here is to find your spark again. And for me, that is painting. I make an effort to paint at least once a month, just so that I can also gain back my creativity. It's a medium that allows me to try new things while also being able to make mistakes, because I know that this is something that I don't have to post about. It's something that I'm never going to sell. It's never going to be in my shop. And so I shouldn't be afraid to again, make these mistakes and try new strokes or new colors or blend things. There's endless amount of creative ways to be creative in this medium. No one has to see your progress or even the final result. You get to choose whether they see it or not. And finding this creative outlet is such a game changer for me because, again, like as a small business owner, you do the same things over and over again. And at some point, you just kind of lose that momentum to try new things. And while you're on this track of launching new product, creating content for it, let's change the course a little bit to try new things, be more inspired, and then go back on that track. And I feel like that, for me personally, has helped a lot when it comes to staying creative while not feeling like I am burning out every single month. Okay, and step 3, build a sustainable routine. I feel like a lot of artists don't necessarily have a set routine because they love the spontaneity of it all. They love, and sometimes can't even control, that you get this burst of creativity at like 3 in the morning and you like have to draw it out. You have to do whatever that spontaneous thought is in your head. But creating a sustainable routine doesn't eliminate that. In fact, it creates space for creativity to breathe again. It's setting some time for you to work versus play rather than feeling like you can't do one or the other. Say for me, I don't love scheduling work and play on the same day because I like to give room for each of them to breathe and for me to give my absolute all to one or the other. Because when I put them both together, I feel like when I'm working, I just want to like rush through it so that I can play. And then when I'm playing, I feel like I just want to play forever. And then I'm gonna like resent working. So for me, I like to set one day to work, give it my all, finish whatever task that I have to do, and the next day I will play as much as my heart desires. Because the truth is, creativity thrives on rhythm, not chaos. That's why building a sustainable routine is the best way to avoid burnout. And between all of that working and playing, you also gotta plan out a day of just rest, because rest shouldn't be seen as a reward for working so hard or playing so hard. It's something that should be scheduled because it's something that you deserve. In fact, your next big idea could be discovered while you're resting. Remember, your art deserves your energy, not your exhaustion. Build a routine that supports your creativity, not one that drains it. So once you have a routine set in place, you want to learn to streamline and delegate your work so that you don't burn out. Going back to what I said earlier, you're not tired, you're just overwhelmed with the amount of tasks that you have. So how can you make things more easier and efficient? The key is to automate and streamline as much as the process as you can. This means automating emails, batching your content, and if you have the means, hire help where it takes you the longest to do something. Figure out what's eating most of your time and see if it could be done quicker by someone else. I know so many people who love the filming portion of YouTube videos but hate the editing because it takes such an obscene amount of time to do so. So they hire out and have someone do that. That way they don't lose the momentum and creative juices to film the content by dreading that editing process. They found someone that would do that for them. And with batch contenting, figure out a day or two to really plan and organize your content, and then another day to film it all. That way you're not like thinking on the day of like, what should I be posting? What should I be creating? With a plan set, you know exactly what you're filming, when you're filming it, and then also when you're posting it. And by having these systems and these schedules in place, you'll have more time to not think about like, what do you have to do next? Instead, you'll have more time to be creative. So let's work smarter, not harder. And then finally, step 5, find your people, because fellow artists, fellow entrepreneurs, they get it. They know exactly how you're feeling. So create that community where you're able to be open and transparent with like-minded people. You want to share your wins, your losses, opportunities, things you're feeling, like everything that you're feeling and experiencing. I'm sure someone in that community is also feeling the same way. And I feel like sometimes as an artist, it's a very lonely experience. So it's nice to be in a community where you're feeling all these things and then someone in the group is saying like, hey, same here, me too. I'm also experiencing these things, and it just makes you feel a little less alone. And how does being in a community exactly help with burnout? Well, because you're not bottling all of these negative thoughts in your head, and instead you're making space for you to be creative. And besides, you get so inspired by other creatives to make art a certain way or try new things and be in certain markets. The opportunities while being in a community is endless. So for me, I became friends with someone that I met at a local market, and we ended up creating a group chat with like me, my friend, and then like a bunch of other artists in the community or like the tri-state area. And it's such a rewarding experience to just be talking to people who are experiencing the same things. And I can reiterate that a million times about how great it is to find friends that are artists and small business owners. Like, for example, I feel like this year hasn't been that great when it comes to market sales for me, and everyone was kind of feeling the same way. We're all kind of attending very similar events because we are in the same area. So it's great to see that I'm not going crazy here. It's just been like a slower year for all of us. So reach out to people who are in your local area or those that you love following, because honestly, the creative world is such a big place and we just kind of need to connect with one another and be kinder to one another. So those are all the steps to kind of get out of that burnout funk and be creative again. And if it's a break that you need to kind of reset, this is your sign to do so. But until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to this video for more videos like this.